All right, Etsy's Q3 results are in, and I want to walk you through what I've read between the lines and what I think is really important for us to know as sellers in the rest of 2025 and going into 2026. So the first thing I really wanted to talk about was the change in leadership, because I know a lot of people are a little bit concerned about that. So you'll see here that the current CEO, of course, is Josh Silverman. He has been on the scene since, I think, 2017. And he has been, the driving force in a lot of change and a lot of great stuff on Etsy so far. I personally really like Josh. I think he's been, he's always been very open and honest with the kind of way that the marketplace is moving. And I know a lot of people are panicking about this, and some people think it's a good thing. Now, the reason that a lot of people are panicking is because naturally when something like this happens, the shares of a business plummet. So Etsy's shares did plummet yesterday. They will come back. It's not really something to worry about. I feel like this is a really normal thing that happens when leadership changes happen in a business, but also when somebody has been in a business role for this long and has been leading the helm for this long, it's quite normal to then start to see changes in a different direction. So Josh is leaving the CEO role. He's, I think, staying on until the end of 2026. And he had a lot of this background with like eBay and things like that. So I think that you can actually see some of the things that he took from eBay and brought into the platform over the years, that some were good, some were not so good. Things like, for example, the make an offer tool on some listings that I know didn't go down particularly well on most sellers, and that kind of, I don't even know if that's still an option anymore. I know it's something that most sellers never used, but lots of great stuff came under Josh's leadership, lots of not so great stuff came, but equally, it's been quite a volatile time just in general across the resale space, so I'm not convinced that is necessarily anything to do with him. So who is taking his place? Well, it is Kruti, and she has been also in Etsy for a really, really long time. So she has been at Etsy, I think it says 10 years here. Yep, over 10 years. And when I was looking into her background, I was actually quite pleased to see that she has worked across quite a lot of different spaces in Etsy already. So she knows the back end of, what we are kind of working on. She's actually worked her way up in the company, which is usually a good thing in my experience. And she has worked on things like the products as chief product officer. She's also worked behind the scenes in Etsy's global seller services. So hopefully that means that she's actually got a real kind of feel and a real understanding of what actually what it's like to be a seller on the platform as well. So that's my take on this. I also think it's worth noting that she has been at the helm of Depop for the last few years, and Depop is growing super fast. It actually says here it's one of the Times list of 100 most influential companies in 2024, and I believe it is one of the fastest growing resale websites in the market as well. So that's pretty cool, right? I'm just gonna get rid of this. I don't know who that is. So overall, I think this will end up being a positive. I'm sure we will see. It sounds like she's been kind of a driving force behind lots of the changes that have been happening so far, with things like bringing in AI tools and bringing in, a lot of customer personalization, things like that. So she has been very involved in all of this already, which suggests to me that the changes that we have been seeing is just going to kind of continue. We're going to kind of continue to see similar changes as we go through the rest of the year and as we go into next year as well. So that is my take on that. It's not something I would personally be panicking about. At the end of the day, Etsy at its core will always be fundamentally the same. It's just little moving parts and pieces in an attempt to hopefully bring the business and the marketplace back to growth. So speaking of growth, let's move back into the numbers. So in terms of the results, if we come down to, this is just like the overall company results, but if we come down to Etsy specifically, because Etsy includes, Etsy's overall results include, I'm just going to make myself a bit smaller, include Depop and previously Reverb as well. If we look at Etsy specifically, in Q3, GMS, which is gross merchandise sales, which is the money that people paid for products on the platforms, i.e. the money that our products made for the Etsy platform, was down 2.4% versus Q3 in last year. So yes, there was less revenue, there was less money being spent on the platform, but it was only minus 2% down. And actually, if we look back over the last couple of quarters, that's actually really not that bad compared to some of the other results that we're seeing. So in Q2, we can see, where is the Etsy numbers? Here we go, GMS 2.4, so it was down 5.4% in Q2 versus last year. And in Q1, I think it was even higher than that, if I remember rightly. Let me come back up here. Etsy Marketplace was down 8.1% in Q1, right? So that's quite significantly more than being down 2.4%, which basically in big business growth means that is actually growth versus, stagnation. So yes, very slightly down behind last year, but way ahead of where it's been for the last 2 quarters. So I know a lot of people are scaremongering around this, saying, sales are down and buyers are down and revenue is down and it's all terrible. But actually, what is the point in focusing on that? We can't control that. Etsy can control this. Etsy is in charge of controlling this. All we can control is what we do about that, right? And one really big positive that I actually think that we should take out of all of this is, whilst, GMS is catching up to last year, and hopefully in Q4 will be even better again, we can also take comfort in the fact that actually there are less sellers on the platform than there was last year. So have I got the numbers open? Here we go. So if we zoom in here on Etsy, I don't know if it's in this one. Active sellers total 5.5 million, which is a 10.9% year-over-year decrease, right? There is 10% less sellers on the platform. So despite the fact that there's 2% less money being spent on the platform, you're actually competing with 10% less sellers. I'm taking that as a positive. I don't know why everyone's scaremongering around these numbers. I actually think that having worked in huge businesses and been in results meetings like this many a time over the last 10 years, I'm telling you that this is growth and this is a positive, okay? So then they also mentioned that the numbers for the Q4 period, is it on here, are estimated to be, I think it was is it on here? 3.5 to 3.7 billion or something like that, I think is the Q4 prediction. Let me see if it's on this one. Essentially more than what they're making this quarter, sorry. I can't remember where I read this now. It might have just been in here we go. Q4 2025 guidance, 3.5 billion to 3.65 billion is the prediction. And if we go into Q4's earnings last year, let's see what the numbers were. Etsy Marketplace GMS was 3.3 billion, right? So 3.3 billion, and they're predicting more than that this year. So they're predicting to be in growth for Q4. We don't know if that's true. We know we're already a month into Q4, so they've got somewhat of a grasp on those numbers potentially. So taking it as a positive, and I think there is lots of good stuff to come. So moving away from just results, there's a few other things that I want to talk to you about. So I've told you about the numbers, I've told you about the leadership changes. The 2 big things really that came out of the actual presentation is, I will be honest, I think that there was not a lot of change from the Q1 and Q2 priorities and the Q1 and Q2 things that we are working on, they are working on as a business. And so the 4 main priorities for Q3 were, and I think this is for Q3, showing up where shoppers discover on and off Etsy, which basically is moving away from the TV adverts that everyone was rolling their eyes at the start of the year and in last year, and moving more into showing up, organically on socials. There was a lot of talk about emails and push marketing, so really kind of focusing on organic kind of traction. There was this kind of talk around matching shoppers with the right inventory through better machine learning, so ML is machine learning or modeled learning, and basically that just means better recommendations and more AI tools that are going to help to serve your stuff to the right people, okay? So getting the right products in front of the right people. Retaining and rewarding most valuable customers, so there was a talk about the loyalty program, and I'll go a little bit deeper into kind of what I took from all of these as well, and further amplifying the human connection, which is this whole kind of push Etsy has been doing this year to really put sellers at the spotlight, to really talk about, the magic behind the products that people are creating, and talk about the human behind the products that people are creating. And I think in a world of AI, this is so important, right? We get this all of the time with, people saying that AI is taking jobs, people saying that AI are replacing, all sorts of industries and spaces. And actually, I think in a world where that is definitely the case, and there is a rise of AI, human-centered brands and human-centered sellers are the ones that are going to win, because we are craving that human connection, right? Yes, AI is exciting and it speeds things up and people think it's really cool. People are wanting to connect with other people, and that is something that Etsy has talked about in this presentation and in these results. So let me just go through the kind of different areas of what they went through then. So showing up where shoppers discover, one of the things they mentioned was the AI integration. So basically what this means, it's only in the US, I believe. So yeah, US buyers and US sellers, or people who are shipping to the US, I would imagine. They basically, people can now search in ChatGPT for certain things, and they can buy directly from Etsy within ChatGPT, which is pretty cool, because what it actually does is it removes friction between actually being on one platform, searching and looking for kind of what you're looking for, and then going off to another platform and then having to deal with a completely new website, right? It keeps everything contained, and it can really improve conversion rates when you are retained in one space. So that's quite interesting. This is brand new. This is a new thing. So we don't have any results on it yet, although Josh did mention that it is early kind of results are showing good conversion rates and things like that. So this is going to be quite interesting. As a UK seller who doesn't sell to the US and who isn't in the US, I can't experiment with this. I can't really check this out. But it would be interesting to maybe go to ChatGPT if you're in the US and start searching, asking for product recommendations, asking for, gift ideas, things like that, and just see what pops up, see if Etsy comes up for you. Like I say, in the UK it doesn't, because we don't actually get this recommendation yet. Now, one thing to keep in mind, that is the instant checkout integration. There is still the possibility that ChatGPT and AI tools can actually recommend your products. It's just that they wouldn't be able to shop in the app for them. But if you've ever used ChatGPT, if you've ever used an AI tool to ask for recommendations or information, it will often link out to something. It will show you the link and show you where to find it, and then you can go off and buy it there. That still works for everyone worldwide, so that's pretty cool. Or any countries where the AI tools are available. So that's pretty cool, and I have seen, Etsy does pop up when you use this, so you can always experiment with that outside of the US. And in terms of what you need to do in order for, to be able to start being recommended by these tools, is you just need to, it's basically the same as what you should be doing anyway. And if you haven't already seen it, I have a YouTube video on what actually matters for SEO in 2025 and beyond. I'll try and link it. I don't really know how to do that, but if not, it's on my channel. And basically what you need to be doing is you just need to be really using the right keywords that people are searching for, like you do in SEO anyway. But what a great way of actually tapping into this kind of thing is using really human phrases in your descriptions, right? And really kind of thinking about the way you describe your products and talk about your products in a way that people would maybe be asking questions about them, would maybe be asking for recommendations or maybe solutions to a problem that your product solves. Really thinking about flipping that round to, for example, if I am there going, I'm really stuck, I don't know what to buy for my husband for his birthday, and so I might start searching in ChatGPT for something like, what can I buy for my husband? He's a musician. He doesn't like cheesy, gifts. He's actually an actual musician. He's not a cheesy QR code and a mug kind of guy. I'm more thinking things like, musician tech, or I don't really know. Don't tell him. I don't listen to him. But I don't really, I might go into ChatGPT and ask for these recommendations and ideas. I might say he's a bass player. I might say he's this. He goes on tour. He does this. He blah, blah, blah. And then if you think about the way that I might ask those questions, or maybe you might ask those questions, for example, I'm looking for a gift for my friend who's going through a breakup. She loves, I don't know, dogs and pop culture and this, that, and the other. Think about those words that people might be typing into ChatGPT for ChatGPT to then go and search for that kind of stuff and then recommend things back, right? So really just thinking about how you weave that kind of conversational content into your descriptions. And one of the lines that Josh actually said in this was, he said, customers are now giving, at the minute and previously have been giving 2 to 3 search terms, like keywords in a search, when they are looking for something on a platform like Etsy. But because of AI, they are now being trained to give paragraphs and context around what they're looking at, right? Because if you think about when AI came in, when ChatGPT came in, if you just put, 2 to 3 search terms in, like gifts for musician, into ChatGPT is like, what? And it just goes off on a tangent making something up. So by proxy, ChatGPT and using these tools, it's training us to, instead of searching for one or two keywords, it's training us to actually search in phrases, in paragraphs, by giving context, by giving more information. In the way that you would go to Google and search for, a one-liner maybe, you go into ChatGPT and asking a question. So it's just about thinking about how to bring that human, those sentences, those connections, those phrases and paragraphs and that context into your description to make sure that you can then start being picked up by, search platforms and AI platforms like ChatGPT. So this went off on a tangent into a bit of an AI and SEO lesson, but I just want you to start thinking about that because that's something that's quite interesting. And basically, just back to the instant checkout at the minute, what Josh is saying is that the seller is not being charged for any fees that are being incurred by this. Obviously, that might change in the future if this becomes something quite popular, but it's quite interesting, and it will be an one to watch, I think, and see how this goes and see how it surfaces through Q4. All right, so if we go on to what else was talked about, they were talking all about this showing up where shoppers discover. So really going after like trend edits, they're going hard in organic socials. We talked about the move from kind of traditional advertising into more kind of interactive advertising, and there's lots of adverts kind of being created, but it sounds like less for TV and more for the places that people are spending a lot of time, for example, streaming, YouTube, things like that. So then one thing that was discussed in the Q&A section was they were talking about how like gift mode is now being integrated into the core experience. So you are finding the perfect gift for someone rather than just going through the gift mode tool. You are actually being, especially in this kind of season, you will are being guided to find the best gift through things like being offered up, the trend edits, but also the way that the app actually shows up your kind of recommendations and things like that as well, which is quite cool. Looks like this is like a pop-up within the app here, gifts for everyone on your list this year, and that might actually take you through to the gift mode tool, but it also might take you through recommendations instead, which is something that was hugely talked about in this. So every single quarter this year and most of last year, big push about the app. There was a big talk around the app. Basically, app is growing, it's growing, which is, normal. There was some talk around whether AI will replace a lot of that app work, but actually, I really agree with Josh's point around this, that yes, while AI tools are kind of making things easier and simpler, buyer behavior changes really slowly, and we are not just going to see people stop using apps overnight because ChatGPT now can recommend products within searches as well. Like that's just not going to happen, right? So the app is going to continue to grow, or highly likely to continue to grow. It grew, that you can see here, 20% up in sales from the app homepage versus last year. They've been playing around with navigation, things like that, and they've been really working on the improved discovery feed. So there was a huge conversation around personalization and really using recommendation models, right? So back when I was working for a big retail brand in the UK, we did a lot of work on this, and it was basically modeling. It was algorithms. It was the four founders of AI. It was using algorithms and modeling to basically predict what the next best thing your customer wanted to buy off the back of what they'd bought previously, right? So in the past, Etsy used to be really focused on when you'd bought something, it would go, okay, this person likes ceramic mugs. So then every time you'd come to Etsy, it would show you more ceramic mugs and more ceramic mugs and more ceramic mugs, right? And it would just be really tailored and hyper-focused on what you already bought. They've been moving out of this space. They've been getting better at recommendations, and this was a big kind of conversation that they continue to have in this presentation around how recommendations are huge, and they continue to be huge, and they are getting better and smarter and, better at predicting what you might want to see next. Not only just from product perspective, but also in an inspiration perspective as well. So really starting to think about, how to strengthen what the next best thing to show you might be. So I actually just wanted to show you an example of what this kind of looks like for me personally, right? So yesterday I just kind of, as this was happening, I went on my phone and I thought, okay, let's have a look at what I'm being shown on my app. And you can see here I was being shown, so gift wrap that stands out. I'll press play actually because it is, I scrolled across it. So you can see here, obviously gifting season. Save 20% on this favourite. This is something I favorited previously. New picks based on what I've looked at. I'm a wedding stationer, so that's basically what I was previously looking at there. Then it's jumped back into Principal Planner. Well, I actually did an audit on one of these products. I think it was this one a few days ago. So it's now going, okay, Principal Planner is a keyword that was used in this product that I was looking at. So it's telling me to now go back and have a look at that, because that might be something that I'm still interested in because I didn't buy it because I was auditing it. You keep scrolling and it can see new picks for me based on my favorites here. So this looks like prints. These look like prints that I used to actually create, but also they are, products that I've probably interacted with as well. They very much are capturing my style. If we keep scrolling, it's showing me recently viewed. This is actually one of my own products, and then recently favorited. Also, one of my amazing new Seller Society members' products that I've favorited recently. So it's just showing me a real recommendation of what I've been looking at, what I've been favoriting, what I have been interacting with, more things like that as well, and trying to just encourage me to get back into that kind of shop and that kind of space and that browsing experience. It's also showing me that what it thinks is most kind of relevant right now, so gift wrapping, because that's clearly something that's very popular right now. It's showing me a discount on something I've favorited and it's ending soon, so obviously a bit of an urgency driver there. So all pretty cool things. Then if we continue to scroll down, you'll see inspiration at your fingertips. So now this is going out of this kind of focus on what I have interacted with and what I've previously done to what it thinks I might want to see next. So wedding invitation mock-ups. Well, I buy mock-ups a lot, and especially for wedding designs, because I am a wedding stationer, right? So this makes total sense for it to be showing me this. It's showing me this folk art. Now, I have got an amazing seller inside my membership who designs, in a similar style to this, and I have done quite a few audits on her products recently. I have also favorited her products recently. So it's kind of going, okay, this is the style you like. You didn't buy that product, because obviously I'm auditing that product, not buying it. You didn't buy that product. I have, however, bought from her in the past. So it also knows that I have got this design, style that I quite like. Here's some other stuff that you might buy. Now, prints is something that I bought quite a few times on Etsy, so it also knows that I'm potentially somebody who buys into this space. It's giving me Scandinavian folk art. This is a keyword that this seller uses a lot in her listings, and so it knows that that's something that it's picking up that I interact with that I might also be interested in. So we've talked about this quite a few times in the past, but where you are basically people are trying to force the algorithm to show them for certain search terms, and they're looking for their own products in search. This is the reason that you don't see your own products, or you do see your own products in search, and you can't search for your own products anymore, because everybody's search results are different based on the way that they behave, the way they interact. Etsy knows that I have interacted with a lot and have favorited a lot of Scandinavian folk art prints. So it's bringing that keyword to the fore of what I am actually being served up and shown here. It's bringing in Christmas kind of variations as well, because let's just pause. It's bringing in Christmas variations as well, because it's the time of the year. This is actually one of my seller's new sets of prints as well that she will have relisted for this time of year as well. My lovely seller who I've been auditing her products as well. So it's showing me her stuff again. It's also showing me my own stuff, weirdly. I don't really know why it does this, but sometimes I think it can't necessarily differentiate when you are signed in on the buyer app versus when you are actually a seller already. So it kind of shows you, well, you've looked at this a few times. I've probably opened it up to edit it or something, so you might still be interested in that. But you can see that that's not actually something it's showing me loads of, because it also doesn't really make sense in line with the stuff that I buy regularly and favorite regularly, right? And then if we keep going, you can see it's going a little bit broader now. It's kind of gone, all right, we've shown you all the stuff that we thought you might buy. Maybe you're not in the market for that. So let's go back into wedding stationery mock-ups. Let's go into different styles of that keyword, that higgy kind of Scandi keyword that we're seeing here. Moon water jar for collecting something. Not sure why it's recommending this one for me, but maybe, again, my recommendations are a little bit strange sometimes, because I look at a wide variety of shops inside my membership, so I am always kind of looking at different sellers' shops, so that could be why it's kind of a little bit confused sometimes with my algorithm. But I really recommend that you look at your own algorithm too, because you'll be really, really surprised by what you're kind of seeing here. And also always looking in, maybe try signing out and signing into an account that isn't connected to your shop. You can always see what comes up there as well. And you'll likely see here things that are related to what you regularly buy. It knows that I buy stuff for my dogs. It's bringing dog stuff up here, dog stuff again, right? So it's kind of going, okay, well, you liked dog stuff. So, and specifically greyhounds, it's decided I like. So it's showing me more and more greyhounds, right? I've recently audited a hand pressed flower card, so pressed flowers. I was looking at that yesterday. So it's now bringing in, okay, handprint flowers, maybe that's something you're interested in. Flowers, more florals, right? Custom artwork using florals and pressed flowers. Wall art, birth flower wall art. This is the search term I searched for this audit that we did yesterday to kind of start working on it. It's kind of getting a little bit broader, and it's going, okay, you've looked at this, maybe you'll be interested in this, right? And you can really see how it's going off down different directions. Travel itinerary, another audit that I did this week was on digital planners and digital travel itineraries, things like that. So it's kind of going maybe this, maybe that. So hopefully this just kind of shows you exactly what the algorithm is, why the algorithm is working the way it is, and what it's kind of thinking. So let's move back in here. So we'll just quickly wrap up with what was left. Matching shoppers with the right inventory, we've just talked about that. So the two things were buyer understanding and item understanding. Buyer understanding is exactly what we just kind of were talking about then. So it's really understanding and trying to interpret buyer's interest, what you're interested in, what you interact with, what's relevant to you. So what you need to take from this is putting the words into your listing that relates to what your customer is interested in, right? If you sell stuff for, dog collars, you want to be talking about pet lovers. You want to be talking about dog mums. You want to be talking about dog accessories, things like that in your descriptions, right? So that Etsy can kind of go, okay, this shop sells stuff for people who like dog accessories. Maybe go in specific into Dachshund, sausage dogs, blah, 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 specific popular breeds as well in your descriptions, things like that. Maybe, for example, if you are selling dog collars and you have a photo of it, on a French bulldog, using the word French bulldog in your description as well, just to kind of mirror that. So early results is double-digit engagement increases. So basically what this is meaning is the increasing engagement from mobile app users on the homepage versus what it was before they started integrating like this is significantly higher, right? The other side of it is item understanding. Now, I talk about this all the time about how important your images is and how they often are more important than your SEO, or a more important part of your SEO strategy than just your keywords. This AI-powered system is actually reading your listings, it's looking at your listings, it's understanding what your listing is from your images as well, in terms of things like, so yes, of course, all 5 of those Scandi artworks could have said the word Scandi illustration in them, but the image readers are looking at things like colours, patterns, design styles. They're really getting a little bit deeper to match things. For example, say I keep interacting with bright and bold colours like this. It can see that these bright and bold colours in this bag match these bright and bold colours in this mug and go, this might also be something she's interested in because it's a design style she likes, right? So just really making sure that you are really portraying the style, the vibe, the customer you're trying to attract through your images, and making sure your images are strong, sharp, clear, really well lit. We know that Google has always penalized low quality imagery. I don't believe that Etsy is any different to that. And I mean in an SEO sense, and not only from an algorithm perspective, the stronger your images are, the more higher quality your images are portrayed, and the more high quality your images feel, the more likely your customer is to trust you to firstly click on your listing and actually want to buy it. Look at all 4 of these. They are really enticing, but also then go on to trust you to buy it, okay? Strengthening loyalty and retention. There was a lot around this loyalty program that they are rolling out. So 5% back in credit, offering like member only rewards. It's an interesting one. We haven't really heard any results from it. They've been talking about this for a while, kind of how they're pushing this and rolling this out. No results on this yet, but it'd be interesting. And all we want to make sure we are continuing to do here is creating an amazing experience that makes our customers want to come back to us specifically, right? Because this buyer loyalty program is all about getting people back onto Etsy. What you want to do is build your brand around an experience that people remember you, not Etsy, right? It's that whole thing of, I bought it on Etsy. No, you didn't. You bought it from a seller on Etsy. But if that seller doesn't give you a strong enough brand experience and a strong enough connection and a strong enough experience in general to remember the name of your shop and to remember why they bought from you, they're just going to come back to Etsy and search again, instead of thinking, I really like that shop and I'm going to go back to that shop, right? So we really want to create that brand experience and making sure our customers remember us, not just Etsy. And then for sellers, it was all around new AI tools. So this was around things like the titles, the AI title tools, faster and clearer support, and overall seller satisfaction being up more than 10 points versus last year. Quite an interesting one, and hopefully a sign of things to come with Kruti at the helm as well. So further amplifying the human connection, they were talking here around how they are really pulling out kind of the core and most important and things and most relevant things about each shop to their customers. So again, they're putting the seller at the fore rather than just being like, hey, we're Etsy and we have these amazing things. They're actually trying a little bit more to show you a little bit more about the actual seller themselves and why you should maybe support them. So you can see, 95% or more orders shipped on time, best-selling shop, 9 years on Etsy, how many great reviews they've got. It's kind of, a little bit more of a focus on this person and as a seller, meet your seller here, rather than just come and have a look at this specific product, right? And what I want to just pull out on this one as well is, as ever, your brand experience matters, like we were talking about before. Your customer experience matters, but also like kind of starting to bring in your own kind of story here. And even just the simplest things, I see this all the time that people miss out. Have an image of yourself in your shop icon. Have your your name in your shop icon. Make sure your location is in there so that people are like, oh, this is somebody from my town, right? This is a really great way to help you to connect with more people as well. All right, so then we're going into more numbers around everything we've already kind of talked about already. I don't think there's anything I really want to heavily focus on here. The active seller base we talked about already. So it's grown versus last quarter, but still well down behind last year. So let me just check my notes and make sure there's nothing I missed. The one last thing I just remembered that I wrote down, and this was a tiny little nugget, so if you've stayed till the end, I think that this is, congratulations to you, and I think that this is a really interesting one. The revenue that Etsy is making from Etsy ads is in growth, which basically means that people are spending more on Etsy ads, which means that Etsy is getting more from us than just our fees. And it's so, what I'm taking from that is either Etsy ads are becoming more, successful for sellers, and that's why they're investing more in it. In my experience, that hasn't been the case. I have done a big experiment on that this year, and I believe I've actually lost money by using Etsy ads. That's something that I need to do a lot more data modeling on, and I will share it as soon as I am clear on this. But it basically also suggests to me the fact that more sellers are spending more on Etsy ads suggests to me that the ad spend that you are going to have to spend to get the same results is going to increase. So what that basically means is your return on ad spend is going to end up being lower because it's going to actually cost you more to get a click than it used to cost you. Now, I am really quite skeptical about Etsy ads. I always have been. I didn't grow my business with them. I never used them up until this year. Maybe last year, can't remember which one it was, but basically I grew to a full-time business, without Etsy ads. I have seen a decline in revenue this year, and I have been consistently using ads for the first year. I've switched my ads off. I'm not seeing a decline since switching them off. So I am a little bit skeptical about them. I am skeptical because we can't control the way that our budget is spent and the places it's spent and things like that, which I don't love. It's basically just handing over cash in good faith to Etsy that it's going to actually result in more sales for you, and most sellers don't actually know how to read their results in a way that actually tells them whether or not they are making, a worthwhile investment there. So I still remain skeptical about Etsy ads. I am not somebody who will ever heavily promote using Etsy ads until I am proven otherwise. But that little nugget, I think, was just a really interesting takeout from me, that it feels like Etsy ads are benefiting Etsy more than they're going to benefit you longer term, especially if you have small budgets and you can't compete in a competitive space with somebody who is willing to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars a day in order to rank highest in search, right? If you are in that space, then yes, I am sure Etsy ads are worthwhile for you because you are edging your bets on spending the maximum but making the maximum. If your budget is, $5 to $10 a day and you're in a very competitive space, you might just be throwing money away because you're not necessarily going to generate enough volume in a really competitive space with a really low budget. That is my theory right now. By all means, test it. You want to look for a high return on ad spend. For digital sellers, that is generally 2 to 3 times your return on spend. And for physical sellers, it depends on your margins. The golden number you are trying to aim for is 7, but I would say anything over doubling your money, you're probably breaking even unless your profit margins are very, very low. So hopefully that has been helpful. That has been my longer than I anticipated rundown on the Q3 results, because I actually don't think there was as much as usual quarters to talk about. But I think there's some really positive takeouts. I think the growth the decline from previous quarters versus last year is positive, and the potential forecast for Q4 is positive too. The decline in sellers is positive, and actually as a result, one of the numbers that came out of this was there was a huge improvement in the percentage of sellers who made a sale in the last 6 months versus last year, because obviously the sellers that have been removed from the platform are, ones that are maybe not causing the best possible outcomes for their buyers, and so you're not competing with as much spammy stuff as well, which is handy. So that is my take on it. I'd love to know if you have any questions, and I will catch you all later.